What has become of the movement? It's been inverted, and it is now dead. 2025 is the year that MAGA died. This is the year that this hat is no longer controversial. The hat is not edgy. The hat is not provocative. It doesn't even mean anything. This hat is dead. So Marjorie Greene and Thomas Massie, they have the America First position. They're against foreign aid to Israel. For that, they have become critics of Trump and his agenda, and they're out of MAGA.
Nick Fuentes just blasted Donald Trump for betraying America First principles and destroying the MAGA movement, this time in an epithet against Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, promising now to primary Greene like he's primarying Massie, while campaigning openly for neocon monsters like Lindsey Graham. This one's going to be good. Let's get into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Ms. Nicholas J. Fuentes, we have a great show for you tonight. Very excited to be back here with you tonight on Friday. We have a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into, a big show. Guys, what's going on with MAGA? I think it's kind of over. Our featured story, we're talking all about Trump's epic disavowal of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie today on Truth Social. It's just brutal. And I have to say it, I told you so. I told you that it would be like this. Golden age, the golden age of Trump's second term. How's everybody feeling tonight? How's everybody doing? Are you getting bored with winning? For all of you plan trusters, hey, plan trusters, guys with the Halloween pumpkin MAGA hat. Hey, Trump loyalists. How we feeling? Are you winning, son? Are you bored with winning all the victories we have? Yeah, it's not doing so great, not doing so hot. Our featured story, we're talking about these two awesome Truth Social posts. I'm sure you've seen them. Shot heard around the world. The afternoon started when Trump disavowed Thomas Massie, officially attacked him, endorsed his opponent, attacked him for getting remarried after his wife died.
Can you get any lower than that, by the way? And that's not new. Trump's always despised Massie. He's drug him through the dirt despite Massie siding with him in the Russiagate fiasco when cretins like Lindsey Graham didn't. But Nick's just right here, man. I mean, this does seem to be the end of something. And if you want to call it the end of MAGA, whatever, this movement is dying quick because people are seeing the fraudulent mindset of Trump for really what it is. And in so many ways, you know, Nick is acting like a libertarian here. He's right. He did predict this too, as did many libertarians. This was going to be rhetoric for what it was rather than policy positions that were beholden to the principles for which people elected Trump. That's no different than Obama rode the wave of, you know, shutting down Guantanamo Bay and pulling our troops out of Iraq. He didn't do those two things either, and in fact ramped up wars in Yemen and Syria and Libya. But hey, you know, this is a commonality no matter who you elect. We're seeing it with Trump, and yet doubling down against the best heroic politicians in Washington, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. It's no coincidence why, by the way, they're critics of Israel. They're critics of the rampant spending and the Ukraine first mindset that we see too. Endless spending sprees, and it really is Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie, ironically enough, that want to hold Trump to his best campaign pledges. For that, they're out of MAGA. Well, keep trusting the plan.
And then, the real kicker, it came back on Truth Social for seconds later in the night. And just a few hours ago, Trump kicked Marjorie Greene out of MAGA, said that he is withdrawing his endorsement of her, his support for her, said that he will endorse a primary challenger against her in her district, said that she was crazy, an ingrate, said she was a psycho, a lunatic. What's going on with all that?
What does that make Trump then for covering up a child sex trafficking operation, likely at the behest of Israel, spending to the brim when we can't afford that, and I don't know, starting a new war with Iran? dragging the best people in Washington, expanding the surveillance state under Palantir. All these transgressions, and hey, we're just supposed to keep trusting the plan, right?
Think about where we are. It is 2025. We are 10 years into the MAGA revolution. After the third campaign, a year into the second term. And let's look at the ledger. On the side of MAGA, you have Lindsey Graham, Ben Shapiro, Marco Rubio, Randy Fine, Mark Levin. Apparently, all of that is MAGA. Together, they support war with Iran, Chinese students, H-1B visas, 300,000 deportations all year. And then on the other side, apparently what is not MAGA, what is kicked out of MAGA, wacky, crazy haters, Republican haters, Democrats, third worldists. You got Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes, Alex Jones. You got all these people on the other side in favor of America first, mass deportations, no foreign students, no foreign workers, no war with Iran, no war with Russia in Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. It can't be overstated how much the never-Trumpers of 2016 have been managed to steer this administration wherever they want, I think especially on the foreign policy front. Certainly that's the case, that they're getting the Israel first wars with Iran. There's a ceasefire now. We just have to hope and pray as Americans that this president or future presidents don't pick that back up the second that Netanyahu starts propagandizing for that again, which he already has, by the way. He did that in an interview with Ben Shapiro at the beginning of October, said, they're cultivating nuclear bombs that they could take out Boston and New York City. It's just so absurd. They pose no threat to the United States, don't even have a nuclear weapon. But now guess what? Because they started that war, they're incentivized to get one. And I don't even agree with the mass deportation regime. I think that would require the enactment and building up of a giant American police state to even do that with multi-dozens of illegal immigrants in the United States. Just think about how that would expand government and the police powers that would come with that, which would be wielded against then conservatives, Fuentes, if that took root. So I'm not even for that. But at any rate, Trump isn't even deporting more people per year than Obama did. What do you think about that? Trust the planikins. That's what we're seeing now, even if you want that. So he's not even delivering on the promises, even in accordance with his own stated agenda.
What has become of the movement? It's been inverted, and it is now dead. And I think people recognize that. It is now a decision, and we're going to introduce our other topic, but this is now the dichotomy. You have MAGA on the one side, and what does this even stand for anymore? You got MAGA on one side. What does that even mean? Make America great for who? Make it great for Israel, Indian immigrants, Chinese students, illegal immigrant farm workers. Make America great again for them. Make Israel great.
Yeah, it's just become a meme, just like drain the swamp, right? Where you say drain the swamp and then you surround yourself with John Bolton and Mike Pompeo. Make America great again has become a meme too. It's become MAGA, make Israel great again. Dissidents see that for what it is and it's become a meme. Even America First, to some extent, has become a meme because it's just Israel first. And I know that's the slogan Nick wants to represent more. And I'm all for that. I have no problem with that. But that's becoming a meme, too, when it is still the cornerstone of the Trump administration, too, to some extent. It just reeks of fraud, especially in terms of its hypocritical impact when you see those slogans and realize how fraudulent they truly are under the umbrella of this administration.
Make America great for the global empire, defense contractors, big pharma, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, Palantir. You got MAGA on the one side, and like I said, Randy Fine, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz. And then on the other side, you got America First. No ambiguity, no ifs, ands, or buts. What does that mean? America first, Americans first, America only. America first is our credo. Americanism, not globalism, is the credo. Tucker, Fuentes, Candace, Marjorie, Thomas Massey, Dan Bilzerian, Myron, Jake Shields, Lucas Gage, all the greats, all the usual suspects. That's the question. Aiden Ross, Sneeko, yay. This is the dichotomy. What are you for? Are you with America first or are you with MAGA? I think after this month, after this year, 2025 is the year that MAGA died. This is the year that this hat is no longer controversial. The hat is not edgy. The hat is not provocative. It doesn't even mean anything. This hat is dead. This hat is dead. Now, metaphorically speaking. And this is the future.
Yeah, it's hard to deny in many ways, and to be clear, I support America first in its strictest, most ideal sense. Now, I will disagree with Nick on individual policies to some extent. I've already done that in this video. But to some extent, that has to be at the forefront of any respectable sovereignty-based political movement, that your concerns come before these foreign countries like Ukraine and Saudi Arabia and Israel above and foremost. And people will accuse Nick of trying to split the MAGA coalition. Like, yeah, it's him splitting it over this, over recognizing the truth, over recognizing where this movement is going. And it's being derailed, by the way. But who's derailing it? It's not Nick Fuentes. It's Trump and the supervillains surrounding him, not delivering on their best promises. As many of us predicted he wouldn't, but I don't want to gloat about that at this point. I just want to say that's the reality. And people are taking notice. He didn't end the Ukraine war. He kept spending. He dragged the best people in Washington. He expanded the surveillance state. He had a rift on spending with Musk that ended any potential of $2 trillion in Doge cuts. You know, he keeps funneling money to Israel, boasts about how much impact Adelson has on his decision-making regarding Israel. We've just been fed up with it. We've had enough. And it's not Nick derailing it. It's the Trump administration that's done that. He's split MAGA. That's what he's done.
America first is the future. Explicit, unambiguous, direct, actually has denotative meaning. America first is the credo. Our featured story is about how Trump has condemned Marjorie Taylor Greene and now Thomas Massie. And this is a little referendum on what Trumpism is now. This is what MAGA has become. Think about the events of the past 3 weeks, the past 10 months. So who is inside MAGA? Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Josh Hammer, Randy Fine. What are they saying? Kill them all. No Palestinian is innocent. Bomb Iran. Europeans are anti-Semitic in their DNA. That's all fine. That's all good. That's good stuff. And that's all MAGA. And who's not MAGA anymore? Tucker Carlson, who says blood guilt is not Christian. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who says, I'm America first. I'm putting my constituents first. Candace Owens, who says, I want to get to the bottom of the death of my friend. And me. Now, what?
Yeah, and it shows some maturity to say that, by the way. He's had beefs with all three of those people. I've been critical of him for that, by the way, for having beefs with them. Not necessarily over their differences, but not being against Israel for the right reasons. I think Nick went too hard against those three in that respect to some extent. Not saying anything about the other three being innocent. I don't like Tucker Carlson calling him gay or insinuating he was a Fed, although that was after Nick originally did that in March of 2023. But at the same time, it shows maturity on his part to say those people have the right position. They are America first. He's feuding with Candace Owens. They don't like each other. He's feuding with Marjorie Taylor Greene. They don't like each other. But he is acknowledging that they're on the right side of this. I think he's right about that.
What is this really about? Why is Trump against Thomas Massie and Marjorie Greene? It is literally two things. Two reasons. Why are Thomas Massie and Marjorie Greene out of MAGA? What do they have in common?
I'm literally going to try to predict what he's going to say. I'm going to say they oppose aid to Israel is one of those. And it's either going to be, the other one's either going to be that they are rigid on spending cuts and not wanting to bolster and support the Trump spending sprees. It's either going to be that, or they want to get to the bottom of the Epstein files cover-up. They're opposing Trump on that regard as he digs his heels in. So let's see what Nick says, though. Just wanted to predict it.
Why do I say because of the commonality? A lot of Trump defenders, a lot of Republican apparatchiks will say that the reason Trump is condemning Massey is because Massey doesn't vote with Republicans in Congress. Massey has a problem with Trump's agenda as a libertarian. That's what they argue in defense. They say, well, Thomas Massey happens to be against AIPAC and foreign aid to Israel, but the real reason is that he's this obstructionist. But that's not true of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been one of Trump's strongest allies and a good friend of his since she got into Congress 5 years ago. So you can't say that about Marjorie Greene. You can say that Thomas Massey, and I would even argue there's some credibility to this. I think it's a pretext, but it's sort of a compelling one.
I'm going to push back on him on this. This has been thoroughly fact-checked, and Thomas Massey has voted with Republicans 91% of the time under the Trump presidency. So he isn't just an obstructionist. What he does do is obstruct Trump's duplicity when Trump goes against his stated goals that he raised during the campaign. But that, by the way, is the reason in which Americans backed him, not from what he's turned his back on, which is his base and his presidency. The American people generally backed him because of his good promises. That's when Trump dares to reject the assertions of the Trump administration in the form of executive orders or legislation or bad decision-making in regard to Israel funding, launching the war in Iran, launching strikes against Yemen, not ending the war in Ukraine, spending sprees in the form of the big abominable bill. That is what Massey pushes back against. He still votes with Republicans 91% of the time. It's a propaganda ploy among the neocons and the GOP establishment to just say he's an obstructionist, when the truth is, no, he's trying to hold Trump to his principles, his stated principles that he raised. And it's these things that the Republican establishment wants to dig their heels in to cover up, like the Epstein files that he pushes back on.
You might argue that, well, Thomas Massey hasn't been specifically a great ally to Trump, but that cannot be said about Marjorie Greene. Marjorie Greene has always been a loyal supporter and defender of Trump and his agenda in Congress. So why is Trump condemning her and Massey? Well, there's a common denominator between them both, and it's not that they're against Trump's agenda. It's two things. One, they're both against foreign aid to Israel.
Right.
Marjorie Greene, like Thomas Massey, has become extremely outspoken against all the U.S. aid to Israel, which, by the way, is what Trump's own doctrine calls for. If Trump says America first, and pursuant to his executive order, the State Department was ordered to review all foreign aid to every country, that review, that executive order, that policy should apply to Israel as well. But it didn't, and it hasn't. Out of all the countries that we give foreign aid to, the only country that kept getting their foreign aid was Israel. And when Congress considers items like this, the only country where this became a controversy was Israel.
And it even goes beyond the aid, too. I mean, Israel can literally bomb another ostensible U.S. ally in Qatar, which has, the biggest military base in the region for the United States. It's an Air Force base there that exists even to protect Israel. They can just do that with impunity. And, Trump made a big show about getting Netanyahu to call and apologize, but never withholding aid. Israel can get away with that beyond the aid. They can bomb U.S. allies without any repercussions whatsoever.
Last year, AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, committed $100 million specifically to unseat any congressman or woman that voted against the aid package to Israel last April. So Marjorie Greene and Thomas Massey, they have the America First position. They're against foreign aid to Israel. For that, they have become critics of Trump and his agenda, and they're out of MAGA. Reason number two, they both are calling for the release of the Epstein files.
Right.
Once again, something that Trump himself promised. His son, the doofus, Don Jr., is at Turning Point USA saying, I'm on every FBI wanted list except the Epstein list. They promised this. They promised disclosure on the Epstein files for 6 years. Epstein died under Trump, and ever since Trump left office, Trump and his family and his boosters, all they could talk about was the Epstein files. Epstein didn't kill himself. Clinton was on the island.
To be fair here, Trump did suggest that, yeah, he was willing to release that information on the Tim Pool show and one or two other programs, but really it was many of his subordinates that Trump elevated in his presidency that made a career of going on every podcast and doing this, like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel doing it. So while he's right that Trump did promise this, so did Don Jr., so did J.D. Vance, a lot of people in Trump's periphery that have accumulated power under Trump, under the discretion of Trump too, in cabinet selections and such, did promise that. So just minor pushback there, but he's generally right. And by the way, the Democrats did not use this as a weapon against Trump. They covered this up too, but they never promised to do anything other than cover it up. They didn't promise to have disclosures. They didn't promise to get to the bottom of this when they were in power under Biden. That's just true too. And why? It's a uniparty cover-up. There's too many parties involved from both sides of the political tribe in Washington, D.C. And I say tribe in the singular because it's basically the same policies.
They promised to release them during the campaign. They went through the motions and tried to trick everybody this February. And now that Marjorie and Thomas Massie actually want the files, that's the other reason they're out of MAGA. Now, what have we learned? In order to be a part of the Trump movement and a part of MAGA, you have to support foreign aid to Israel. You have to be in favor of Trump's cover-up of the Epstein files. That's apparently now what MAGA means. MAGA used to mean three things. It meant no free trade, no foreign wars, no mass migration. That's what MAGA used to mean. And if you weren't on board with those things, you were out. And consequently, most of the GOP was out, and the Israel lobby was out. That's why Trump was criticizing Sheldon Adelson in 2015.
That's true. He did criticize Adelson, and then he was made to turn at some point in 2016. A lot was written about this back in those days when he was running for president. He actually took a very non-interventionist stance toward Israel, and once that got out, it seems like some kind of intervention happened, and all of a sudden he was on board with Israel. And Nick's right, a lot of these never-Trumpers is now steering the administration. They've captivated Trump's heart and mind into doing their bidding just by managing his ego somehow. Right? They've managed to manage his ego, keep it in check, fluff him up, say he's so strong if he does their bidding, which is always Israel first, and that's what we get from this. And now you have MAGA, literally Trump and his closest allies going to these Republicans that are going to vote for disclosures of the Epstein files and saying, you're not MAGA unless you help cover up this child sex trafficking operation. That's what they're going with now. That's MAGA, I guess.
And AIPAC and the Israel lobby. Look up the tape, December 2015. Google Trump, Rubio, Adelson. It's all there. Anybody that was in favor of mass migration, foreign wars like Iraq, or free trade was out of MAGA. MAGA was smaller in DC, but it was bigger in America. So Marjorie, I don't know what will come of that. I will say this much. She has spoken out against the Israel lobby. You know, I'm glad that she has gotten around to doing that after the whole planet did. I'm glad that, now that the whole world is red-pilled on Israel, I'm glad that she sees that that is advantageous for her, and now she has joined in the chorus. Honestly, I'm grateful for that, honestly, because it's good to have more voices rather than fewer.
Okay, I think he's way too hard on Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I know he has a beef with her. He's given her some praise here for being on the right side of this rift being caused by Trump, not by Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, by Trump's duplicity and nefarious doings. But at the same time, man, she is in a political leviathan in Washington, D.C. with so few allies on this issue. So while Nick's right, yeah, the American people have turned against Israel. A lot of us did long before this. A lot of us did, over a decade ago. That is true. But what benefit is it to boast about that and saying, like, I'm glad she, came around, but, it's cowardly. He does continue on, if you watch the original clip, to say, she's just maybe going where the wind's blowing. I'm sorry, she's in a political class in Washington, D.C. where this isn't where the wind's blowing. That is where the wind is blowing in the American electorate in general, and even on the American right, especially the dissident right. on this Israel issue. We've seen big swings there. But that isn't how the political juggernaut, the entrenched bureaucracy in Congress is blowing by far. And it took amazing guts to stand on the right side of this thing, knowing that Trump could do exactly what he ended up doing, deciding that he would not endorse her and in fact would back a primary candidate against her, just as he is a candidate against Thomas Massie. That's being funded by up to $20 million by Miriam Adelson. Guess who? So no, this took amazing courage from Marjorie, and Nick's too hard on her as far as I'm concerned. But overall, totally agree with Nick. These are the reasons that those two are isolated and being, treated as, vermin lower than the Democrats by the Trump administration, because they dare to decide, hey, you need to release the Epstein files, as you yourself said, and you need to stop this absurd Israel first mentality that Americans have had enough on. So they're both courageous for that. But I do want to hear your perspective on that. Do you think I'm right? Do you think Nick is? Do you think Nick's too hard on Marjorie Taylor Greene? Where do you see this going? Is this going to be the end of the MAGA coalition? Should we put a fork in it? Is it dead? Can Trump recover from this in any way, especially if those disclosures are voted for and actually come out? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also, if you like this video, please consider becoming a YouTube member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. And if you help support my channel that way, I'll give you access to all of my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. Also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below, plug in your email, it'll shoot you off to a site, and I will send you a free copy of that in PDF form, absolutely for free, no obligation. My first book in PDF form. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.